Hi. I love how you were talking about satisfaction because it's kind of like the middle point of the scale. And
It's right in the center.
exactly. Yeah. Because the first part of this is I found that there's a wave function is there between like what goes up must come down in terms of emotion. Like the flip side of that is that I always tell myself when I'm feeling bad that at least I get to look forward to feeling good later.
And another thing that you could say is I couldn't feel bad if my inner being didn't feel really good.
Right.
Which is sort of annoying because the degree to which you don't feel good is equivalent to the degree to which you are not letting in something that you've already asked for. And so it's information in any case, isn't it?
And so the second part is, when you were talking about the stream and the boat, and you don't have to take the rows and row downstream. You can just let go.
Go with the flow.
Right.
We used to tell that story a lot.
Yeah.
It's like humans. You take your canoe down to the stream and you point it upstream and you begin paddling because you believe that you have to pay a price. And we say, just turn and go with the flow. And you say, well, that just seems lazy.
Right. And so in terms of the emotional scale, letting go of the oars will also lift you up through the emotional scale, as opposed to getting these oars and rowing yourself up and kind of working up the scale.
Well, here's the thing. We talked earlier about how once you get your thoughts wrapped around some of these concepts about law of attraction and focus and vibration and emotion and satisfaction, once you accept that there is an energy that you have access to and you learn how to not only ask for it but let it in, everything gets simpler and easier for you. But this is always true. You can't let in more than you expect to let in. There are other ways of saying this. You can't create past your own beliefs. So now we want to pile on a few statements that as you listen to them, it will free some things up for you. Most humans are observing life and coming to conclusions as they observe life, and that's just fine. And most humans have sorted, oh, you're going to like this so much, have sorted the results of life into piles, and mostly in an attempt to call the piles right, wrong, good, bad, wanted, unwanted. That's natural. That's really not out of sync with your intention when you decided you would come forth and choose for yourself and move into more and more and more satisfying lives. So in the process, let's say that you've got a pile of Republicans and a pile of Democrats, and you've assigned, from your point of view, characteristics to each of them. Let's say you have a pile of Catholics and a pile of Baptists, and you've assigned certain characteristics to each of them. Let's say there's a pile of working mothers and there's a pile of mothers who don't work. And let's say there is a pile of black people and a pile of white people, and there's a pile of female and there's a pile of male. So most humans are wanting to differentiate what they're witnessing life in this sort of categorical way. And we would like to submit to you that there are really, in all of these piles, we'd like to mix all those piles together, all those piles and every other pile, mix them together and divide them into just two piles, aligned with inner being in this moment or not. Then you can begin to sort out things like action or not action, because we are certainly not teaching you not to enjoy action. Action is so delicious if you are in alignment when you are acting, but action is no fun at all. If you are out of alignment, then it's hard. Then things don't go your way. And so that was a sort of epiphany for you, wasn't it? If you can get your thoughts around that, then so many things that have felt controversial, so many things that have felt troubling and hard to understand aren't that difficult to understand anymore about yourself or about anybody else. It really is about how much you are allowing yourself in the moment to be the whole of who you are with all of that clarity and all of that love and all of that flexibility and stamina and resiliency and replenishment, it brings us to this really important conversation about what am I as a human in this moment under the influence of? Am I under the influence of source energy, or am I under the influence of some other pile of something that I'm trying to...
A lot of the time it's anger. People are very angry. And so is forgiveness...
But wait, what is anger? Anger is the way you feel when you're not in alignment with source pile. Anger is what you feel when you've lived so much life that has caused you to become this and this. And because of something you're focused upon, you are depriving yourself of that in that moment. And anger is the exaggerated dissatisfaction that you feel when you have pinched yourself off from something that you so much want and so much are.
So if you can just forgive and let go of that anger through forgiveness, kind of like letting go of the oars.
But you see, look how complicated that is. Now I got to forgive the Baptists, and I got to forgive the Catholics, and I got to forgive the Republicans, and I got to forgive the Democrats, and I got to forgive my mother who shouldn't have gone to work and left me alone. You don't have enough time for all that forgiveness. There's just not time for all of it.
So how do you let go? Okay.
You know when you think you need forgiveness? When you're under the influence of something other than your inner being. When you're under the influence of your inner being, you don't need forgiveness. You've got alignment. We have never forgiven anyone. And you know why? Never. We have never forgiven anyone. Because we have never condemned them to begin with. But we want you to understand that that's just like saying, so let's say what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is being under the influence of something other than my inner being, and now being under the influence of my inner being. But you can't do it all at once. And this is what humans want to do. Instead of catching it right here when it's really easy, do I like that person or not like that person? Do I find value in that person or fault in that person? Am I looking for positive aspects or am I looking for negative aspects? It's real easy right here when it's satisfied or unsatisfied. But if you let it get dissatisfied, and then it goes into all those other things, so that you have deprived yourself for long periods of time, even decades, then you feel like you need a bigger, heavier word. We need forgiveness, which means we've got to really analyze what we're forgiving, which means you're going to be stuck in that vibrational quagmire for a really long time, like most humans are. And then you just get more segregated into your piles while you point at everybody else for the reason that you feel so bad, when you feel bad for one reason and one reason only. You're not under the influence of your inner being right now, and you could be.
So what's the best way to drop the anger in your...
The best way to what?
Drop the anger.
Well, you're not going to like this answer, but we're going to give it to you anyway. Drop it before you pick it up. Don't pick it up to begin with, because once you pick it up, it's fused to your hand for a while. I'd like to drop it, but it and I are bonded. So just don't pick it up to begin with. But that requires accepting that every new moment is a new moment with new options where you can go either way. And this is the thing that we really want you to hear. This really speaks specifically to exactly what you're asking for. So you get the sense of nudging the car and catching it before it begins to roll. Well, what you're asking is, Abraham, I nudged it and I didn't catch it and it's rolling down into the bay. How can I stop it? And what's the answer? You can't. You can't. And then what's the next answer? You could have caught it earlier. That's not satisfying, and we wouldn't throw that back to you. We're not saying you should have caught it earlier because now it's really rolling, because you can wake up tomorrow and you've got a whole new opportunity. Or you could meditate and give yourself a whole new opportunity. All you have to do is stop thinking those negative thoughts and your vibration will rise. So that's a question that we'd like to put to you. How could you stop thinking a thought that you're thinking? Law of attraction's not going to let you do that. Law of attraction is going to continue to encourage the thought that you've got going. And so, are you getting the answer to this? Be more deliberate about the thoughts you start. And you don't have to start over in a whole lifetime. You just have to start over in this moment or in this day. And sometimes when things happen that really get your attention, that make it really clear to you that we adore it, when something lovely is gaining momentum and Esther acknowledges, I'm responsible for that. And we are equally happy when something not wanted is gaining momentum. And Esther says, I'm responsible for that as well. Because now she's in control. And with understanding that, now she can make choices early on about what she gets into motion, which means meditate every day. Don't be lazy about it. Don't say, I'll do it tomorrow. Don't say, I'll meditate after lunch, after I'm already angry. Catch it early. Get yourself hooked into source energy and love early in the day. And each day that you do it, then the more your proclivity leans that way, the easier it is, you people, that it's really hard to get their goat. You just can't get them down. They're just not going to allow it. You start a negative conversation, they'll change the conversation or they'll walk away. They're just not going to go there with you.
Well, I find humor, for me, that's what I use in order to kind of diffuse things.
People use humor to cover up things too.
Well, I mean, because it makes it feel not so serious.
We don't disagree with you at all, but we're just saying. Your true humor comes from true alignment. There is no writer of situation comedy like Source Energy. Situation comedy is the best comedy in the whole world. And every now and again, something will happen and you just got to laugh. You just got to say, I saw that one coming. That's a perfect vibrational match.
Because when you feel powerless and then you reach for anger, I get that you feel better. If you feel relief.
That's an old conversation. That's not the conversation we're having today. Today we're telling you, if you feel anger or if you feel despair and revenge feels better to you, this is a good time for a nap, because it's really difficult to work your way up that emotional scale. People that work their way up the emotional scale end up back in the Republican pile and the Democrat pile and the Mormon pile and the Catholic pile and the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers pile. And you activate within yourself so many things that it's just exhausting. You just can't sort it out. You're not going to come together as a people and decide what's right and wrong for everybody in all circumstances. So let's say that you subscribe to the pile that says, never break a law. You're just determined that you're not ever going to do that. And you're driving down the freeway, and there's an 18-wheeler that is crowding you. So you just decide that you're just going to get out of its way. So you just step on the gas and go 85 miles an hour. You broke a law. You should have let it crush you. So in every moment, you and your inner being are always evaluating with this hierarchical priority system of what's the best. And your inner being always errs in love and well-being for yourself and for all others, you see.